We're asked to find the domain of this function. A domain of a function represents all the x values that work, that don't, all the x numbers that don't cause divide by zero problems, all the x numbers that don't cause us to take the square root of a negative. So we could first note that we have to exclude 7. X can't be 7 and x can't be 2. X can be every other number, so every other number is in our domain right now. Because if you were to plug in x equals 7, you get a divide by 0 problem. But then there's other numbers. So let's think about that square root. We can't have a negative in there, or else we're going to start talking about imaginary numbers. So we want to exclude those from our domain. So basically, we want to take everything that's inside that square root and find out what it takes to make that be greater than 0. And to solve this rational inequality, you would multiply both sides by x minus 7, x minus 2. Make these cancel out, right? So you get x plus 5 is greater than 0. Subtract 5 from both sides, so x should be greater than negative 5. So we have to have numbers that are greater than negative 5 for our domain. So we got to take all those three things into account. The next part's kind of tricky. What I did was I went to desmos.com/calculator. Okay, free, online, really easy to use. Here I can show you the steps I took to type it in. I typed SQRT. Put a parentheses x plus 5, use the slash key for division, and x minus 7, x minus 2. Just typed in our function. And look on the x-axis. The domain means all the x values that are possible. So from x equals negative 5, that starting point we saw, up until x equals 2 is fine, but then there's a gap. There's no values between x equals 2 and x equals 7. That's because if you tried to plug in a value that was between x equals 2 and like x equals 3, and the denominator you got negative 4 times 1, that's going to give you a negative number in here. We can't take the square root of a negative number. So we got to exclude all the numbers in between x equals 2 and x equals 7. So our interval would look like this. I used a bracket on negative 5 because exactly negative 5 is fine. That doesn't cause a square root of a negative number. That's a square root of 0, right? So start at negative 5, stop at 2. Then a parentheses at 2. Do we need? No, I think we need a bracket at 2. No, parentheses, sorry. Because if you were to plug in exactly x equals 2, that's a divide by 0. We have to exclude 2 with a parentheses. And then put the union operator. We start getting x values again around x equals 7, comma, infinity. Okay, so that is our domain.